Baldur was woken by terrible dreams, terrible nightmares of his own death. And Odin summoned a seeress hanging on the tree to tell him an awful prophecy of Baldur's death and of the coming of Ragnarok. Telling his wife of those dreams, she scoured the world and got a promise from everything in Midgard not to harm her son. The only thing she overlooked, or thought perhaps was too young to make such an oath, was the mistletoe growing up high in whichever tree it was sitting in. And so Baldur became invulnerable to the hurts of the world. And they began to play a game with him, the other gods and his friends, of throwing weapons, spears, arrows, hammers, whatever they could find at him, and laugh to see them bounce off. Except Loki, Odin's blood brother, and a trickster of sorts, found out from Frigga that the mistletoe had not sworn, and so made from the mistletoe a dart or an arrow. And he gave it to Baldur's brother Hoder, who was blind and wasn't able to join in the games. And Loki guided his hand in the right direction and told him to throw. The mistletoe pierced Baldur and he died. He was buried aboard Frey's ship, set ablaze, in that so typical Viking type burial. His wife went with him on the ship and of course also died. And he was taken into the halls of hell, the halls of the dead. Frigga even so sent a messenger into the kingdom of hell, borrowing Odin's eight-legged horse, leaping over the wall of flame, to ask for Baldur to be returned. And Hel's promise was that yes, he would come back, but only if every being in the world should weep for him. So again, Frigga scoured the world high and low, and got a promise from every living creature she found to weep for her son. And the world did weep. But still Baldur was not returned. And on investigating, Frigga found that one person had not wept. An old troll wife in the middle of the forest. And when she examined the woman further, she found it was not a troll wife at all, it was Loki in disguise, refusing to cry. So in vengeance for that, for forcing Baldur to stay in hell, and for killing him in the first place, Loki suffered a terrible punishment. His children were torn, and he was bound with their guts and sinew to a rock deep in the mountains. And above his head Frigga set a serpent dripping poison, which dripped directly onto his face. And his wife Sigyn stood there with a bowl to catch the poison and protect her husband. But every now and then she had to empty the bowl of its poison, and then it dripped straight onto Loki's face, and it's said that that is the origin of earthquakes. But Odin also heard from the prophetess hanging from the tree that following the death of Baldur and the escape of Loki from that bondage, Ragnarok would occur, the terrible twilight of the gods, when the dead would return and overwhelm the land, and the giants and the fire giants would come with them, and the world would sink under the waters and everything would burn, the gods would be killed. But beyond that prophecy was a further prophecy to say that the earth would rise again out of the waters, that the last human man and woman, life and lust for life, would shelter in the world tree Yggdrasil and return to repopulate the world and that the children of the gods would once more walk the earth, including Baldur. And that is the cycle of Baldur as we have it in those old Icelandic poems and texts. And so these poems are all inspired by episodes from that story. They were all written individually at different times, and this is the first time that I've put them together in some kind of cycle or story arc. I may say some words in between, individual words on each poem, but generally I'll work my way through them. Many of them are written in the Old English and Old Norse metre, alliterative metre, with repetitive head rhymes, sounds at the beginning of the words, and you'll hear that, I hope, when I read them. Some of them aren't. One of them is a piece of prose, and one of them is a song. So I'm just going to step aside and close my skylights to cut out the noise from outside, which means we'll get sweltering in here. So I don't know, you might want to divest. Thank you for joining me, everyone, as well. Hi, Bernie. So I begin with one that's actually the first poem in this metre that I ever wrote. It's 25 years old, and it's at a point in the story quite close to the end, with Baldur and his brother Hoder in hell with the goddess, with Baldur's wife as well. And it's called Hoder's Song. In Hela's hall I hold the toast, horn in hand give health to all. Sink by the fire seeking comfort, Niflheim's ice is a knife in my heart in Hela's hall. Hope is not mine. Creeping despair, a crony unwelcome, beams from his bench, baleful and sour. He raises his hand to a wretched man, swears brotherhood, swoons at my knee in Hela's hall. Our hostess sits, Loki's daughter, lowers at her guests, the waifs and the wanderers, the withered dead. She calls forth the feast, feeds well the ghostly hearth sharers, the hobbling aged, the feeble sick, succours the coward, shelters the shamed and shabby outcast. In Hela's hall, the honour seat before the blaze belongs to one of the highest birth. He brings to all both joy and dread, joins in one full draught the love and life and the loss of what we might have been in brighter days. He sings aloud, his lady weeps when her hand he raises. His laughter lifts the lonely and forsworn, his wisdom soothes the wild and enraged. And to a blind brother, his beauty gives sight. From blood and bale, from Baldur's side, amidst all the murdered, the mistletoe grows in Hela's hall. And now we leap back to the time of his birth, remembering that at his funeral pyre it's some Frey's ship set alight that he travels, with Odin's gold dripping ring in his hand. And remembering also the Norns, Weird, Verdandi and Skuld, which survives in our language as should. Baldur's birth. After nights 9, the new-made mother with birth-sore belly and breast full swollen bears the babe, the burden of earthwives, to the hall of the High One, hies to his seat. He takes up the boy, breaks out a smile, winks at his wife. I would that I had a second eye, my son to behold. An eye at all, echoes the brother. I claim for my kid a kindred and line, a name to be known by. None shall he have, but Baldur the Bright. The boy must be ta'en to the well of the sisters, his weird to be tried. The bairn is blessed, restless grandchild, of the highest kin and holiest kind. All omens are fair, no ill can be spoken, nor slander against him, though slender his will. Far should he fare, on Frey's ship blazing, he should be given the gold-dripping ring, long should he live. Loki is whispering, though it should turn so, sure is no thing. So Baldur grows to be the most flawless of gods, the most loved, the brightest, most gleaming, and after his mother's quest, invulnerable to any weapon but the mistletoe. Loki is a tricky character. Is he a sly and jealous god? Or is he a rectifier of things that should not be, putting them right through his trickiness? This is Loki speaking in a poem called The Doom of Loki, where doom, of course, means destruction, but also judgment. He stands so solid, so straight, this god. Ash tall, oak strong, all you could wish for. Naked on the hillside, night must retreat. His hair dazzles, drops over shoulders, pure as sunlight on his perfect neck, which will turn, trying belief, will bend to bring a brightness of smile and star-sharp eyes to shine on you alone. To spark flames in your spit, and spell desire, tears wrung from your wretched heart. Sparing none, he speaks the world from beggar into being, bears it too, makes you just who you mean to be. And will you yield when the warmth of his hand, his promise of safety, sails you across the ravenous sky, and the roar of his cock throws even the mightiest men on their backs, the wiliest, coldest of wives into heat? This one you look to for law, this one you refuse any fault, this bright and shining as for whom the gods have wrought the world and you. But look with two eyes, with an Etin's gaze, and see his will slender within. He has no ire, no iron to temper a moody edge, as a man may trust. Rather he bows, bends like a willow, the lowest to succour. Look, see him, as empty, unfilled with self, knowing as little as his name. The love he gives is the love you demand. Not forged in fires of his own, naught is within him, his need is hid, friend to only what feeds him. He hears you barely, blinds your eyes with the glare of his glory, gives what you need with hardly enough of himself to bestow. He would love me if I so wanted. He takes harm from none because he harms none. And men of heart, of mood, of cunning are unkeen to be seen to be slave enough to war with one who will not fight. See him, then, standing encircled by thralls as the weapons are hurled with no heart. Only ire-sparked laughter and ill-meant mirth against the gleam of the mother's galder. See him then standing, his steed made lame, as goddesses run their runes to sing, as High himself hurries to kneel to fix the fetlock of his fallen mule. I work my way, with weird turning threads, take up the bough that no bale knows, whet it to a slither of wound-hungry dart. Steer the hand of the sightless man. Tell him, you too should yearn no more. Hurl it home into Baldur's heart. What was flawless now is broken. What was perfect now is dead. What was secret now is spoken. What was golden now is lead. What was stainless now is bloodied. What had no guile now is wise. What was trusted is now studied, and what is shy has no disguise. What was peerless now is copied, what was known is now unsure. What once scalded now is tepid. Nothing is, but bears some flaw. Though all the world from highest heaven should weep their tears to sodden shore, just one dry cheek in forest hidden says Baldur shall endure, must live with hell forevermore. And though his work is nothing certain, and nothing may be known for sure, as land from out the sea is bidden, and Odin pulled from woven jaw, so Baldur may walk from Hela's door, may stride the garth as he did before, and lie within his mother's arms once more. So Baldur lies dead, and his mother has gained a promise from the Queen of Hell that should all the world weep, Baldur would be returned to the world. We often hear the phrase, don't we, God is dead. This one is called the dead God. Here to mourn the death of God. Each is touched. A mother's hand passes through the crowd. The mistletoe has put out berries, older now, she cries these pearls from rounded leaves. The stag has dropped his horns, the squirrel silent in the dray, the harts have no appetite. At her request the well of time is turbulence, and all who live in this age of humankind are brought, when ready, to the thorn. The deaths of fathers, or else the last tired lie, each enough to break the duct and bring the rain of the world, till everyone has wept, till everyone has wept. We are here to mourn the death of God, even those who never knew him, even those who never weep. And we know from the tales that the one who did not weep was Loki, disguised as a troll wife deep in the woods. And so Baldur is consigned to hell, and Frigg's revenge, his mother's revenge, is to bind Loki with the guts of his own children to a rock beneath the mountains, a venom-dripping serpent set over his head. Only Loki's wife is there to catch the venom and save his face, but even she must tip the poison away sometimes. The twilight of the gods, the Ragnarok, will follow on Loki's release. Yes, twilight. The earth is quaking as we get there. Splintered giant bone shivering like a spear hit threatens lowering dead Etin to fall, to drag giant skull from dwarven hands. There is a steam splash of venom flung aside onto rock, cry of steps upon the dust, then the screaming and the shaking stops. He lies quiet again, on the boulders we bound him to, with the entrails of his children still calling, "Father, Father." His wife is kneeling, blister-fingered, armed with agony, the bowl still smoking, held now above his head as shield. Above his head, too, the spitting serpent, drip, 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 smoking venom's caught. His face smoking too. My husband takes his place, sits himself by Loki's head, grim blue against the blue stone. Takes a breath that includes spittle snake, mountain musk, settling dust, and blood brother. My husband runes. I tie my own gaze to Loki's wife. Sigyn does not speak, but allows me to take the bowl of glowing acid, kneels again, singing to remake her husband's face. As smoke clears, head hung between their galder, an eye emerges from the seething skin. Our spouses' songs enter the holes each side of Loki's skull, echo in his thought, his eye gains its target. With a gurgle and his own spit of heated water, Loki tries to speak. It is like when his mouth was stitched, but not so comical. He is hushed by wife, and brother learns to listen again. My husband runes. I can hear the thrum of Loki's children in the guts binding him. I helped to rip them myself. They sound starkly alive in the dead silence of my own son. in the dead emptiness of my own sun in that moment, when my sun hollowed out, when Baldur was a fresh weight again in my arms, when he fell but did not rise. That moment the littlest plant slivered into him stopped his heart. That moment thrown by a blind brother, guided by this one's spite, despite, in spite of. The venom growing heavy in my arms now. My son and son's wife, lying on the burning ship, clasping a gold-dripping ring, fire on the twilight sky, Sleipnir leaping the walls, the firewalls of hell, Sleipnir leaping again, walking the worlds again, collecting tears from all that had kept their promises, finding mistletoe already weeping. Only this one, Loki, dry-eyed, fire-eyed, and worse, dressed as a woman. Fire venom growing, earth heavy now, grief heavy. My husband runes. Earth is still, with my arms protecting still the face of my child's killer. Sun and moon are still too, day and night are still too. Their wagons have not rolled since he died. No, I got their promises at twilight, along with all the things within the world, not to hurt my son. Night promised not to fall, day promised to stay bright, sun promised not to burn, moon not to wane, only mistletoe too young. It was as if we all held our breath. Sun and moon, day and night holding still, and the wolves still coming. But if you had heard him, crying in his nightmare, the fracture of his most naked fear, crying for his mother no longer there, just always slender-willed my son, his golden light bare to sing or scream. Still the rune, the wolves are closing in. My husband runed to me a tale in our bed, his hand unwelcome on my breast, but I took it anyway. The tale-bearing witch she had loved is dead, her voice unwelcome in her own head. Would I know more or what? Yes. A tale of burning, yes. Thunder poisoned by the snake's breath, splitting its skull with his fall. The listener and this one drowned in each other's arms. My husband lying dead in a bile of wolf's gut, yes. But a tale of returning too. Life and lust for life emerging from the scorched tree. Magni, Modi, Thrud, hammer in their hands. Fields growing of themselves. Sun's daughter rousing her young horses to ride a new day. My son gathering up the scattered playing pieces in the grass. Yes. My husband runes. Year and the tree. Yes. The blistered skull spits. Yes. His wife. Yes. My husband lifts his spear. The snake leaves its place, coils down the shaft. My husband's arm, I tip the venom away. Together Loki's wife and I, weavers both, unbind her children. Last drop of bitterness. Outside it is dusk still. Sun and moon, day and night are holding still, keeping promises. We wave them back onto the roads. The wolves are close. Loki and Sigyn go swiftly. Odin and I remain together in the twilight. Frigga watches from her weaving the works and weird of everyone. Hears each heart the hurt that is hidden. Silent she sheds a tear for her son. Frigga shares a drink with her darling. Odin's eye transfixed by her smile. Words of wisdom are shared at their council. Words of love are shared through the night. Gefjangnar and Snotra and Loven, Var and Vor and Fuller and Air, Hlyn and Sin, Saga Sioven. 12 to serve as handmaidens fair. Frigga shares a gift with all mothers, the strength to bear the baby inside. Earthwives 12 will help with the birthing, till first breath is won and first cry is cried. Frigga, watch us from your weaving, working wheel for everyone. Hear each heart, the hope that is hidden. Silent we shed a tear for your son. Drink hail to Frigga, Queen of Fensalir, Mother of Gods. Those are today's poems. That's something I hesitate to do so, but there are moments in there that recall to me events in America recent. A man calling for his mother. And so with respect and humility I dedicate those to the folks up there. Black Lives Matter.